Hi, good evening, everyone. So, welcome to Swiflearn class. So, in Swiflearn, we give you like 100% of interactive classes where we have like personalized sessions for max to max 6 students at a time, a dedicated academic mentor or a team to track and work on your progress, your student as a student progress, and cover syllabus per the school exam schedule and also handle customers' requests. Yeah. Moving further, we also provide you detailed progress reports like how you have performed during your sessions, how is everything going in your studies. Swiflearn Academics Test Series also is also there for you. Then we have the ultimate test practice sessions. You can have it on to the portal of Swiflearn portal, and of course your teachers will provide you with the feedback and subjective tests for school exams. Further, right now you can, if you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe, press the bell icon, and never miss any update for any Swiflearn live session. So today in the live session, we are going to interact about, or we are going to read about plants reproduction. It's a grade 7 chapter, grade 7 plants reproduction. Moving further, what all things we are going to cover in today's session. So we are going to cover firstly what exactly reproduction is and what are the different modes of reproduction. Moving, if when you're going to talk about modes, so then comes your sexual and asexual reproduction. And then the very interesting part is known as artificial reproduction. So I hope you're all excited about to learn about all these amazing facts and things in this amazing chapter. So firstly, have you ever thought how does the life on earth continues? What exactly happens when one or the other things keep on growing and the life on the earth is continuing to grow? What exactly is happening around us? So if we want to answer this question, it comes to me that like how do trees in the forest grow on their own? Right, there must be something happening. The forests are they're self-sustainable, right? We do not go over there to plant them or like plant more trees or give them water or give them anything, any other thing like fertilizers or something. Everything is happening on its own. Do you agree? Right, absolutely. So in natural forest, new trees grows from the seeds that drop from trees under which the new trees will grow, right? Do you agree with the fact that the leaves drop down from the trees, the seeds or the fruits, whatever is dropping down from the already developed trees over there, the new trees are coming up, right? You can even see in the small GIF that you can right now see on your screen that plants or like small leaves or small fruits are dropping down, and from there itself your entire forest is sustaining itself, right? We are not going over there and providing any kind of fertilizers or any kind of seeds or putting any kind of thing into the forest to grow more, right? They are moving or growing on their own every single day, right? Other trees arise through like, now how are these things happening around? Now how are these seeds being taken from one place to another, right? Not just below the trees here, but around the trees or maybe like kilometers away from the trees as well, you will find similar kind of trees. How are these things being spread over in the forest? So if you can read these two facts that are right there on your screen, other trees arrive through the air in wind dispersed seed from nearby trees. Or what else can happen with the seeds and they go from one place to another? The animals, the birds, they take it. Acha chalo, let's read the thing that's right given over here. It says, still other trees arrive in the forest via animals such as squirrels who carry the seeds from neighboring woodlands and bury them in the forest, right? Not just animals and birds, everything, the wind, the water, everything is a factor where it takes the seed from one place to another, right? Further, that means one plant gives rise to individual plant via seeds or sometimes by stems, roots, or may be by leaf also. right? So these are different areas that fall down onto the ground and gives rise to another beautiful tree like that, right? It can be a seed that has fallen from the tree or the plant or a flower, or it can be its stems, or it can be its roots, or it may be its leaf, right? So what is this process known as? So now something is falling down, and something new is happening out of that. What is this process known as? This process is known as reproduction, where you find that one or the other process, or one seed or one part of the plant is able to give a birth, or a birth to a new plant, right? Reproduction is a process by which living organisms produce new individuals of their own kind, right? Do you agree? If a seed of a sunflower will drop, it will produce a sunflower seed, isn't it? It's not going to produce if a sunflower seed falls on the ground, won't be producing a rose flower, right? It's going to be producing a similar kind of vegetation. It's going to produce similar kind of plant what this seed has fallen onto the ground, correct? Moving further, what like right now onto your screen, there are multiple pots, and what do you observe over here? Take a second and just look onto the picture that's right there on your screen. What do you observe over here? So right now you observe that onto the first one, just see where my cursor is going to move right now. The first one, if you all can observe, what is happening right there in the first pot? Right now there's a hand that is putting inside few seeds, right? Few seeds are being put into the soil. Now, after some days, after few days, that seed grows into a shoot. Then you water, there's sunlight, there's photosynthesis happening, and everything around is going on. They're taking in carbon dioxide, doing the photosynthesis, preparing their food, and then the plant grows on. There comes your flowers, right? Then comes your flowers, and those flowers turns into a fruit, right? Absolutely. So this is a process that is being repeated, right? So if you can see this flow chart, if you can see the cycle, it is being repeated. Because of the repetition of this cycle, we have self-sustainable or self-grown plants or forest all around us, right? So here we saw the seed, then moving, it started growing, then the process further, it flourished, produced flowers, then produced your fruit. Isn't it? Isn't it the same circle isn't it the same cycle that is flowing and everything is happening on its own? Right? Moving further, let's learn why plants follow this particular pattern. Why there's nothing else being added, or sometimes why don't they stop in between? What exactly is happening, and why this particular pattern is being followed every time with all the plants? So plants do follow a particular pattern of growing because of the reproduction process. True? Now, there are two different modes of modes of reproduction in plants. The first one is the vegetative part, and the second one is the productive part. What is the vegetative part exactly? So vegetative part of the plant consists of the leaf and the stem. And the reproductive part here consists of flowers and fruit. Now let us learn a little bit more in detail what exactly is vegetative part is doing, the leaf and the stem, how do they work? And let's then learn about the reproductive part, the flower and the fruit, what does they do exactly? So, like I told you, let's little bit more explore the vegetative part first. What exactly happens into a vegetative part? These are the parts of the plant that plays a major role in the life cycle of a plant, such as preparation of food, transportation of food, water and nutrients, etc. For example, root, stems, and leaf. right? I know all of you are right now saying that, yes, of course, the leaves are known as the kitchen of the plant. Then we have veins, we have roots inside. The roots absorb the water. They take it through the entire plant, through the veins, right? And then the water is being transported to the different kinds of leaves. Then the leaves prepare their food. They store it some or the other way. Sometimes they store it in form of a flower, or sometimes they store in form of a fruit, right? Moving further. So now this vegetative parts are like, suppose it's a rose stem, right? So this rose stem, if you see, was cut and been like put into the ground, and it turned out into another plant, right? And if you talk about this bryophyllum leaf, if you look at this bryophyllum leaf, by this process, with this leaf only, by just planting up this leaf, the entire new plant grows off. Similarly here, with the help of just the stem of the rose, you can create an entirely new plant, or new rose plant of your own, right? But there's of course specifications, like how you cut the stem, how you sow it. All of the things depend. It's not just like you pluck it and pluck it into, or put it into your garden. It won't come like that. There's a proper process that you need to follow. Yeah. Moving further, what are the reproductive parts? What are the reproductive parts of the plant? These reproductive part of the plants are your flowers and the fruits. Why do you think these are known as the reproductive parts of your plant? You know why? Because they contain the seed inside them. If you have ever observed a plant, like a flower or a fruit, like you must have eaten so many fruits, and you find like there are like numerous sizes of the seeds they have inside them. Some of them are big, some of them are small, and some of them are really tiny. If you have ever observed or eaten a strawberry, you know, all that dots around it, all of them are the strawberry seeds. You can grow your own strawberries out of those seeds that are stuck around the strawberry, you know. Okay, so let's read this also, what's written right there on your screen. These are the parts of a plant that play a major role in the reproduction process in plants. And what are these two parts? The flowers and the fruits that plays a very major role in reproduction of new plants. Now, this reproduction can be termed into two major categories. Very interesting and very nice. First one is your sexual reproduction. Second one is your asexual reproduction. Now, firstly, let us learn about what is asexual reproduction here in the plants. The new plants are produced without using the seeds. Yeah, in the beginning, we learned about, if you remember, we just learned about that a rose plant can be just grown by cutting a stem and sowing into the ground, and then it turns out into a new plant itself, right? So that's, or if you remember, we learned about biophyll, right? If you just saw the little leaf of that plant, it turns out into a new plant itself. That is the asexual reproduction in plants. The new plants are produced without using the seeds. In this process, the leaves, the stems, and the roots participate in reproduction. On to the other hand, the sexual reproduction here, the new plants are produced with the help of seeds of a plant. In this, the process, the flowers of the plants participate in reproduction. Yeah. Okay. Now we have learned like few topics already. So it's a time to recapitulate, because it's whenever we recapitulate the things, whenever we revise the things, we are able to retain them for a longer time. That means we are able to remember them for a longer time. Okay. So firstly, we'll answer all these 4 questions. Yeah. I hope you can remember all these questions. First question says, define reproduction. Second question is, what is sexual reproduction? Third question, what do you mean by asexual reproduction? The fourth question here says, name the two different modes of reproduction. Now, moving forward, let us answer these questions one by one. So, the first answer here, the process of production of new individual from their parents is known as reproduction, right? Like in reproduction, the same species of things are being reborn, right? They regenerate themselves, right? And that is known as reproduction. Second answer, when the new plant are produced with the help of seeds of a plant, it is known as asexual reproduction. When the seeds are used, seeds from the flowers or seeds from the fruits, if the seeds are participating in reproduction of a new plant or growing a new plant, it is known as sexual reproduction. Further, what if when the new plants are produced without the seeds of your fruit or flower, then it is known as a sexual reproduction. Further, the two different modes of reproduction are through vegetative parts and through reproductive part. Yeah. And what are the vegetative parts here? The vegetative parts here are your roots, your stem, and your leaves. These are your vegetative parts. Or on the other hand, the reproductive parts, if you remember, are the parts that consist of your seeds that comes from your flowers or from your fruits of that particular plant. I hope we are all together till here. Now it's time to move a little forward and let's study about some more parts of our plant. Yeah, so it's very interesting to read, I guess, about all these things because plants are one of the very, very essential things that are around us. Yeah, the trees are the things that we need to save right now. So it's very interesting to have and learn about all these things, what exactly is happening and how exactly these things are happening around us without even being noticed from our side. Isn't it? Chalo, let's move further and let's study about some more parts of a plant. So this is the smallest part of a plant. When we sow a seed, when we germinate, a seed just starts germinating, a young plant is grown, like it is termed as a shoot. What is it termed? It is termed as a shoot. Generally, a shoot is regarded as a part of a plant which has stems, leaves, and flowers. Okay, this is the first stage where you just plant your seed and a small thing just pops out of the seed, yeah, after a few days. Then comes when your plant just grows or grows a little taller, then comes your node. And inside the node, there are intermediate nodes. Okay, what about, I'm just saying the word node, but what exactly node is? Node is a part of a stem or a branch of a plant from where the leaf arises. Like you have seen that a plant, of course, there's going to be multiple leaves onto it. So where are these leaves coming from? So these leaves generate onto a stem where there are nodes. Okay, so the place where a new leaf arises, we term that place as nodes. I hope we are clear till here. And the space between two nodes, or if there's a small thing appearing from there as well, it's termed as an internode. Okay, let's learn few more things. Now, there's a vegetative bud. What exactly a bud is, if you have ever observed around you, maybe in some of your plants or maybe of your kitchen garden or maybe in your small balcony garden, you must have observed that there are small round things. Some buds are present in the leaves and are capable of developing into shoots. These are called vegetative buds. Okay, there are small dot-like things that turns into a leaf or something like a fruit, and that is known as a vegetative bud. Yeah. Moving further, can we grow plants without seed? So I'm not moving forward, like you tell me, or like all of you just think a little bit more. Can we grow plants without seed? If you even like just recapitulate the things that we have learned right now, if you just recapitulate, what comes to your mind? Can we grow plants without seed? Yes, absolutely. We can grow plants without seed, and that is known as vegetative reproduction. Remember, we learned about the parts of the plant from which we can reproduce through the parts of a plant itself. We do not need the seeds. We can just reproduce a new plant from the parts of the plant itself. Like some plants can also reproduce through parts other than seeds. New plants can grow from vegetative parts like, and what are the vegetative parts? The first one is your stems. Second one, roots, and then your leaves of the parent plant. This is called as a vegetative reproduction. Now, in vegetative reproduction, let us look at these examples. Root of some plants can give rise to new plants. When planted into soil, buds present on these roots grow as shoot above the ground and give rise to a new plant itself. For example, so these are the different examples that can turn like these are all vegetative reproduction plants from like a already grown plant. Just without the seed of that particular plant, you can grow your own plant. And what are the examples? Like carrot, like sweet potatoes, like dahlia, and even rose, even aloe vera are all those things that are around you from where just by cutting onto its stem or to its root or to its leaves and everything, you can plant your own new like on grown plant out of it. Further, like if you can see a potato and I hope you all have seen it, like sometimes when we keep a potato for like longer time into our kitchen, it remains maybe unseen or unwanted leftover. If you have seen, like there are some kind of scars onto the potato skin, they are known as the eyes, and these can develop into buds. And we remember what are buds? The buds turns into new leaves and everything. So that's how it gives rise to a new plant. Moving further, vegetative reproduction in leaves with the help of leaves. Leaves of some plants like bryophyllum have buds at the edges. When a leaf falls on moist soil, the buds grow into new plant. I hope this is very, very simple. Simply we can understand then that there's a bud onto the edge of this leaf. Okay, so when this leaf falls from the plant and goes onto the soil, then that bud turns into another kind of a plant over there. Okay, so here if we are talking about vegetative reproduction, some plants grow along the ground and contain modified stems called runners. Yeah, and this is like the runners is from one root, there comes a one other stem, then the stem automatically grows into the soil and generates its own root, and then from that root another root starts generating with the help of the stem, and this is how an entire cluster forms over there, and these are known as runners. And the most common runner, or the most I would say widely seen runners, are there in strawberries. What exactly happens over there in strawberries? Let us move to the next slide and see exactly. So if you can see right here, there was a seed. Yeah, there are seeds right there onto the strawberry skin. There are seeds. These are being sown over here. They fall from there, or there's a little stem or a short system that is going right here. If you can see, a stem is going over here. If you can see, that stem has gone into the soil. Another, it has generated its own roots over here, right? And you know what are they known as? They are known as the daughter plants. Yeah, so this is the main plant. This is the main plant. From there, more short systems are coming. Short systems are going towards its left, towards its right, around all the things. And then they are creating their own daughter plants. It's creating, like you just saw one seed. From that one seed, you know, if you saw one strawberry seed, multiple plants will automatically generate, and they are known as daughter plants of that main plant. Yeah, and here you can see the flowers, here you can see the fruit, and the flowers also fall down. Sometimes they also generate some kinds of seeds, right? And that is how it keeps growing the cluster all around and creating the runner roots or the runner cluster, right? That's why they are known as runners. Okay, let's move a little further. Now, artificial means of vegetative propagation. What is artificial? Like here, artificial means man-made, right? Absolutely. You all know what is artificial. Artificial is something that is created by humans, that is done by humans. So here, how we can create or how we can do artificial vegetation or vegetative propagation. So by cutting, so first method is cutting, but what exactly we need to cut so that it turns out into a new plant? So it is a method in which a cutting from a plant is taken and planted like a stem. Yeah, this cutting is a part of the stem or the branch of the plant. Example, roses, because this is mostly commonly widely used into roses where they just cut a stem and plant it and then they grow onto the new rose plants around it. The second one is known as grafting. This is the second process of artificial propagation. That is your grafting. Sometimes two plants are joined together so that both of them can provide the desired characteristics to the new plant. And that even if you have heard about the name hybrid, it comes from here only, or you can relate it to hybrid, where two different species are merged together or two different things are merged together to formulate a thing or to form a thing that is required by us as humans. Yeah. How does this process work exactly? How does grafting works exactly? Let us see. So here there we take one plant, that is being grounded into the soil. Okay, we cut all the above part of that particular plant. Okay, now what do we do next? We pick up the second plant from where we need to have some specifications. Okay, we pick up that plant, we then cut them in a shape that they both join. Like if you can see right here, both of them are vertically cut from here and here, like they're cut and then it's been joined over here. That is known as graft union. And then this graft union is being tried, wrapped and waxed so that the moisture or because the transportation of things is going to happen now, right? Because the plant that is being grounded right now, or that's inside the soil, it's going to take water from the soil, nutrients from the soil, right? And the above part, if you see, is going to generate food or do the photosynthesis part, right? So that's why they need to be wrapped properly so that the veins inside it get connected, the roots can transport water, and the above plant that has inside it that's doing the photosynthesis and generating the food inside the kitchen of the plant, that is leaf, is being transported to all the other plants as well. Yeah, and if you can see, what is the name of the part that is being pulled out of some other plant is known as seskin, and the other one is the stalk. So let's read this out as well, that what is written right here onto that's seen on the screen. It says, one plant remains rooted into the ground, which is called the stalk, and provides the essential nutrients and water, while the other plants, the stem, is attached to it. In this way, a new plants develop. And if you see, this is mostly used with apple trees. They generate different kinds of apple, excuse me, hybrid apples with the desired result. Maybe they want a plant that can produce more number of food at once, right? Maybe that's why they do a hybrid, or maybe the apple that is more nutritious, or maybe an apple that is red as well as sweet. So they combine all those traits together. Okay, and then that's how they create a hybrid thing. Moving further, there are some advantages of vegetative propagation. And what are those advantages of vegetative propagation? Firstly, the plants that are produced with vegetative propagation grows faster. than those that are produced with sexual reproduction. Okay, so that is very, very important, that the plants that we grow with help of vegetative propagation, that means they grow with stems, roots, or the leaves around it, so they grow faster than the sexual reproductive plants. Yeah, the plants that produce with vegetative propagation have fruits and flowers ahead of time, like we discussed right now in the apple case, where the apple trees were generated. Why do they do that? They produce flowers and fruits more often than the original one. They produce, the production is more, the number of the quantity of the, or the amount of fruits they are producing, or the flowers they are producing, is much more. Yeah, the plants that are produced have exactly the same characteristics as of their parents. So sometimes when the two things are being put together, they have the traits of both the plants. Yeah, the parent, both the parent plants, they get the traits of both the parent plants together. Now, what is budding? Have you ever heard about this word budding? What is budding? Yeast is an organism that contains a single cell. It is a fungi, not a plant, right? It can propagate every few hours if the proper amount of nutrients are available to it. So what exactly this term budding means? What exactly does the budding do? Here it is also like a kind of multiplication or replicating the same thing, or reproducing, I would say. So here if you see, there is a mature yeast, a yeast cell, and if you can see a small portion coming out, this is the bud, right? If you just kind of recapitulate, we also learned about this bud inside the plant as well, right? Where the bryophyllum leaves fall onto the floor and there's small bud which generates and creates new things. Similar way here, this bud is also moving and creating its own part from the yeast, and the process is known as budding. What is the process known as? It's known as budding. Okay, so now there, if you see the center part, it's of the different color. That is the nucleus. Now the budding is happening. Now what about the nucleus? What will the nucleus do? But do you think the other, if budding is happening right now, the yeast will be able to survive without a nucleus? No, it will die without a nucleus over here. So the budding, when the process of budding is happening, if you can see, it makes or pulls the nucleus also towards its part and divide itself into two different parts. Divide itself into two different cells, or like if you see in the last part, it's now turned into two different cells altogether. As the yeast find favorable conditions, a small bulb-like projection produces from the yeast called the bud. Yeah, and the bud grows gradually and then gets detached from the parent yeast. This new cell then grows, measures, and produce more cells. Now this process is it's going to be repeated and repeated and repeated again and again, and this is how the microorganisms keep on increasing on their own, okay, by the process of budding. And we cannot see this happening with our naked eyes. We cannot. It can only be visible with the help of a microscopic examination. We cannot see the yeast, or yeast being like turned into different yeast, or divide multiplication of cells. We cannot see it with our naked eye. It can only happen with help of we can only see it with help of the microscope. Further, sometimes a chain of buds is formed which leads to production of large number of yeast altogether. Okay, what happens sometimes? Like sometimes there was one parent yeast, then they formed a bulb, and then new cells produced, then they multiplied, and they multiplied. This is known as the chain of yeast cells. Okay, so they can produce thousands and hundreds and thousands of same thing. Algae like Spirogyra generally produce by the process of fragmentation, in which they divide themselves into multiple parts. Like, if you just do not go onto the scientific explanation of a fragment, just just think about what does a fragment mean in English. A fragment means a piece or a part. So similar way, Spirogyra is one of those plant that produces, that processes or creates new things from its fragments. When that means if I cut something into parts, they will all together become a new plant or a new thing. They will never die, or they will do not leave behind any kinds of traits over there. Okay. So if we read a little bit more, as soon as the algae find enough water and nutrients, it fragments and grows into new individuals. Okay, they divide themselves automatically into different parts. That is, parts means different fragments, and they turn into a new individual. Like it, if you can just remember, that was happening with the stem also, the rose stem. If we cut down the rose stem and it turns out into a new plant. Similar way here also in fragmentation, what an algae is doing, it's turning itself into a new individual, right? Like that means if we, how many numbers we divide it into, it is going to turn out into a new individual without failing to have any kind of traits what the parent body was having it into. Yeah, this process continues and algae multiply quickly in short period of time. Yeah, this is how the fragmentation works. So if you can see here, this is happening, one part over here, the other part. If we divide it further, it again forms into an entire new part. Okay, it never leaves behind any kind of traits. Fragmentation, can you see the different parts? One part, two part. Now this one part divided into any number of parts, it will be, all of them will be growing simultaneously. Further, what is a spore formation? What is spore formation? Some plants contain spores that float in air and cause asexual reproduction. A spore has a hard protective cover which protects it from the unfavorable environment conditions like temperature and humidity. As a result, the spore can travel long distances and survive for a long duration of time. As soon as they find a favorable condition, such as a moisture and nutrients, they germinate and form a new plant. For example, moss and ferns. And like moss and ferns propagate in this particular way. So if I tell you in very, very simple words, a spore is a kind of a seed itself, but it has kind of a hard covering outside it. So when it leaves its parent bodies or its parent body, it floats maybe in air or maybe in water or anywhere. And then when it finds its favorable condition, that is moisture, nutrients and everything, it gets stick over there and germinates into a new plant. I hope we are clear. So now there are a few questions I want ones you can do on yourself, that says describe the advantages of vegetative propagation. What is budding? What is fragmentation? What do you mean by spore formation? What is exactly vegetative propagation? Yeah, and now at the end of the session, I would like to tell you what the new words or the glossary, new words that we learned today here. That is the gist of the entire session. Reproduction, there are vegetative parts, there is vegetative propagation, nodes and cutting, spore formation, fragmentation, budding. Moving further, this is what all the topics that we covered in today's session, that is reproduction, mode of reproduction, sexual and asexual, and what exactly is artificial reproduction. So thank you everybody for joining in. And you can also right now go and subscribe, press the bell icon and never miss an update for a live session again.